You're listening to the Morphology Podcast. Thanks for tuning in to the Morphology Podcast, aka Murph here to share interviews about biking experiences from cyclists who have pedaled to places all over. Each week, we will get to know new people and explore new destinations to ride your bike. As you listen to these adventures, you may wonder, why haven't I done that yet? Well, on the show today is Scott Sumpter. Scott is an avid cyclist who takes adventure to a whole new level. He has raced in all kinds of crazy long-distance cycling events where the roads become mud and the weather is anything but pleasant. He rides year-round on a variety of types of bikes, and when he's not biking, he's in his adventure van heading to the next biking adventure. And also, in his free time, he runs a very cool website called bikeiowa.com. He's on today to tell us more about Bike Iowa, as well as his most recent trip biking the White Rim Trail in Canyonlands National Park. So here's Scott. All right, I would like to welcome Mr. Scott Sumpter to the podcast. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Murph, how's it going?
Good. Now, I can't point to the very moment when Scott and I met, but I feel like we're both have a pretty strong pulse on cycling in general, but specifically cycling in Iowa. Would you say that's true?
I would definitely say that's true. I mean, we had to know each other, I would say approaching close to 20 years,
Yeah, I
off
would
and
agree.
on, right?
Yeah, I would agree.
Right in
Yeah.
there? Yeah.
And we both live in Iowa in different communities. And you're on the podcast to talk about a pretty epic adventure you recently went on, which was biking the White Rim Trail, which, oh my God, I cannot wait to talk about this. But before we do, I want to give the listeners, just a little teeny bit of a background of who you are. And there's probably many important things to describe you, Scott, so I don't want to, take that away from you. But the biggest thing that I think listeners will appreciate is that you run a fantastic website that's simply called bikeiowa.com. So how about, can you give us kind of a little idea of what Bike Iowa is all about?
Yeah, definitely. Bike Iowa's become like a lifelong passion, I guess. Didn't really start out that way,
Yeah.
but back in 2001, so we're in the 21st year of Bike Iowa. And for those not familiar with it, it's really a website dedicated to anything cycling in Iowa, cycling related.
Mm-hmm.
Our bread and butter is probably the event calendar, which is, I'm going to say, still Midwest's most comprehensive event calendar for all the different biking events. So if you're looking for a party ride, a mountain bike ride, a training ride, a race, everything's on this calendar and it can be kind of filtered down. And the cool thing is that people like you, so if you're putting on a weekly event or a annual event or a one-time, charity event, you can go in and add it to the calendar yourself. So I'm not the bottleneck for that. If something changes, if you got a new poster,
Yeah.
you can go in and edit it at any time. So that's kind of a cool spot.
And definitely that's how I got my start at Bike Iowa is, I was either adding rides or looking to figure out where I was going to go for a ride. And then, then I started exploring your website, and I know you're going to tell me more about that.
Yeah. I mean, and there are so many other places now to house events. Definitely Facebook, their event is awesome. But the more time goes by, the more I know either people getting off of Facebook or I know a ton of people they don't even have a Facebook account.
Yeah.
So I still go back. Everything I post on social media, I still take it back to bikeiowa.com, back to the website, because I know 100% of the people can open up a website and see it. They don't have to be on a certain social media platform. So
Yep.
that's always kind of held near and dear to me, is just is keeping that alive, because I know a lot of websites and blogs have died over the years, and they just now live on social media platforms.
Uh-huh.
But been trying to do that. But the other items is big things on there is news. I mean, we'll post hundreds, if not thousands, of news posts a year. Just there's so much going on. Trail building, a new business open up on the trail, a brewery, a trails advocacy group,
Mm-hmm.
raising money for this, raising money. There's stuff going on every day, 20 years ago, I had to go out and hunt it down, but now it's just I can't keep up with the posts. A complete bike shop list out there. A lot of people don't really know about the portals on Iowa or Bike Iowa. So there's 3 different types of portals. One is like genre related. So if you just want to look at mountain biking, or you just want to look at the party scene, or you just want to look at trails, they're almost like mini sites that you can just go to the mountain biking portal, and it's only going to show you mountain biking events, mountain biking news.
Yeah.
So you don't have to filter through all that. So if you don't want to read about gravel, you can just look at the mountain biking and see that. I don't think people use those portals a lot that way. There's also a city portal. So there's over 1,025 city portals. So if you just want to see Cedar Rapids, you can go to the bikeiowa.com city portal for Cedar Rapids, and it's just going to show you all the news for Cedar Rapids, all the events, all the features, and exactly the same. There's a trail portal, so there's 323 trail portals, and so if you only want to see the Cedar Valley Trail, you can see all the news and events that are happening there. So it's just a way to kind of filter down that data for folks. And I'm by trade a data guy, so I coded all the Bike Iowa. And just over the years, so I got to make it the way I wanted it to be, and I like the way the data, and I like to filter down, and that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, and if people, everybody, well, I can't say everybody loves data, but the nice thing is when you can go to that website and be like, I want to know what's going on in Dubuque, Iowa. I can do that because of your background stuff.
And we do hold stuff. So if I got 20 years of data out there, so if like our trestle to trestle bridge just opened up this past week, and it got demolished during an ice flow back in 2019. So I can go to that trail portal page, and I can see all the news about that ice flow jam back in 2019. I can actually go back and see when that bridge was put in, so I can kind of see a history of that trail. If I go to that trail portal, it's like, when was that grand opening, or when did so and so open on the trail? You can just kind of go back and use that as a history.
And it makes you so much smarter. If somebody asks me a question, I can be like, doop, bikeiowa.com. Boom, I've got my history, and now I sound cool.
It's all there. It is all there.
Okay, and I know listeners right now are thinking, wonder how much it would cost me to use the Bike Iowa website.
$0.
Woohoo! $0.
All free. Yep. All free. I mean, we've got a great list of sponsors like bike shops, breweries, restaurants that they are on the trail, and they love that the Bike Iowa data exists. They like, Iowa's. If you can show me another website like Bike Iowa in another state, I'd be ecstatic just to see that happen. We get people from all over going, God, I wish Wisconsin had something like this, or Minnesota. But usually they're either ran by like a foundation or a federation or an advocacy group, and there's not, if we want to post a happy hour special that fire truckers happen, I can post, we can post that without any ramifications,
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So kind of that freedom of speech, freedom of post kind of deal.
And now that you've been doing this for over 20 years, you've also created a pretty cool following of people that want to wear Bike Iowa clothing. And I'm one of them. I have several jerseys that say Bike Iowa on them. So where can people go to get that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So we do I think a lot of different designs, not your normal stuff sometimes, but bikeiowa.com/shop. And it'll take you to the Bike Iowa store. But we deal a lot with Primal, which is the same company that does the RagBrite jerseys.
And the Murphology jerseys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fit and finish is the same, and it's an easy sell to somebody on RagBrite. It's like, how does it fit? Well, it fits exactly like that jersey you're wearing right now.
Yeah.
So, and that's made it great. And the Primal folks are so easy to work with. I mean, they're cyclists. They come, it's fun when we see them during the Bike Expo and RagBrite times. But yeah, we try to do some crazy little T-shirt slogans and sayings and stuff like that, and it's kind of been it literally hasn't been a brand creation over the years, just like the morphology stuff. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
No.
so easy enough. BikeIowa.com. Everybody go look there. But wait till after this
Yes.
interview before you go look, right? Because
Yes.
it can turn into one of those deals where you'll look at this and then you'll click this and then an hour will pass and you'll be much smarter because you've learned so much about Iowa and you have a stuff on your calendar. All very much worth it, right?
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. Yeah. Please wait.
So, yes, let's talk about the White Rim Trail. I am so excited to talk about this. And a tiny bit of background. I don't know if listeners remember Reese Ruland. Reese is actually, she was a runner and then became a bike racer and then got into gravel. And then I think somebody like kind of encouraged her, like, hey, you know what you should do? You should mountain bike and you should, do the White Rim Trail. And she's like, okay, yeah, cool. And then, trained for it, but didn't ride her mountain bike more than, I don't know, half a dozen times before she did this. And she was doing White Rim Trail as a chance to get fastest known time as female. So I'm
Oh man.
guessing she did it differently than you did because it's over 100 miles. She did it like in 7 hours and I don't know, 11 minutes or something like that. So she did get fastest known time for doing it. And there's a little 15-minute movie about her doing it. Anyway, I don't mean to take away from your trip,
Yeah.
but episode 49, if anyone's interested in learning a lot more about Reese Ruland, she's a really amazing athlete. But and we said this before we started recording. I'm like, I want to do White Rim Trail, but I don't know if I can. And I think I based that on Reese's little video when she's talking about the elevation and the suffering and the deep sand. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do it. So let's hear your story of the White Rim Trail.
Yeah, so I think we're going to be on the opposite spectrum of this of the way she experienced it.
Yeah.
So this was not even on my radar a week before we left, right? So Ray Bennett, he's Team Bubba, I think Iowa City guy.
Yep.
So Rag Team Bubba, and him and a few of the Team Bubba folks have always went out to White Rim since 2011. They go out every 2 to 3 years. So I think this was their 5th trip out here.
Okay.
And I've always seen the pictures. I was like, oh man, that looks cool. Just seeing the sights of the Canyonlands and just the vastness of that. And so I get a call, 5 days before Labor Day, and Ray's like, hey, a buddy of mine cannot go on this trip this year. Are you interested? And I'm like, well, heck yeah. What do I got going on this weekend? It's like, oh, I got the Colesburg gravel race. It's like, I could easily skip that to go to, the White Rim Trail. So I'm like, yeah, I think I'm in, So that's kind of how I got into this group. And then after finding out a little bit about the White Rim, like anybody can drive it during the day or ride it during the day, but the camping, I guess, is the most coveted piece.
Oh.
I think it's like 150 or 170 passes or permits are given per year for the camping portion.
Oh, okay.
So Marty is another Team Bubba guy who lives in Delta, Colorado. I think he's lived there almost 20 years, but he's originally from Iowa, and that was kind of the connection with all this. So he had to get a permit back in March in order for us to camp overnight on the White Rim Trail in September. So it was kind of supposedly kind of coveted who gets to camp out there.
Well, and obviously you have to, plan ahead. Luckily, you got in at the tail end, but and I'm assuming the permits have to exist because you're in the Canyonlands National Park, correct?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yep. Okay.
Yep. You're in the canyon, and there's only, they gave us a certain camp spot, so you got to kind of make it to a spot to camp, and there was like a pit toilet that was there. So I don't think you can camp outside of your designated camp areas. So this was the difference. Like Reese did it all in one day, all the way through, and that would have definitely been an epic trip.
Yeah.
But ours is like the first thing Ray said to me is like, hey, knowing how you like to race and knowing how you like to go fast, he goes, the hardest part for you is slowing down and taking in the scenery on this race. That's what he said. I'm like, okay, all right, I think I got it, But he's like, we're stopping like every couple miles to look at, this canyon and then the next canyon. And, it's just, there's the different vantage points just give you, and the different times of the day, just with the lights on the canyons and the red. And it's just fascinating, magical place.
And a quick shout out to Ray because he is, he's, deep into cycling, but he's a phenomenal photographer. So I can imagine
Yes.
that he's probably saying to you guys, all right, in a half an hour, we've got to stop here because the lighting's going to be good and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Ray. Ray will be listening to this too. Hey, Ray.
Hey, Ray.
And and another guy went out this year was a new, but he's a Team Bubba guy, and he has never been past Nebraska.
Oh, wow.
So his name was Wes, and it was just fun to be around him because he is just seeing that for the first time. It's like, oh wow, just how we all saw the mountains for the first time. I mean, he's seeing the mountains and the canyons and coming over the Rockies, and yeah, it was just fascinating just to see him see it for the first time.
And what state is White Rim Trail in?
It's Utah, and
Okay.
it borders like the Colorado River is one of the borders of Canyonlands, but yeah, it's Utah,
Oh, wow. Okay, cool. Well,
and not too far from Moab,
yeah, that's what I was going to
20 minutes
say.
away.
It's
Yeah,
not because, I did that San Juan hut to hut
yeah.
trip, and we ended in Moab. And I do not think we were anywhere near White Rim Trail, but I know a little bit about the terrain there with the sand and the temps and all that. So, like, give us some ideas of like what you experienced.
Yeah, so there were supposed to be four vehicles, and they had to be like capable 4x4 vehicles,
Mm-hmm.
and each vehicle was going to have 16 people, or excuse me, four people. So 16 people in total, and all the other people were from Colorado. Marty is kind of like he just helps design trails out in Colorado,
Oh, wow.
Delta area. So he's involved with a lot of the clubs out there and the advocacy. So he's kind of coordinates some of these other trips. So yeah, all these folks were interested in going until on our way out, that's when Canyonlands got some rain on the other side,
Mm-hmm.
and the rain led to some new rock slides and stuff like that. So once we got out there, Marty told us that, hey, all those people who are supposed to go with us, they all backed out because we can't do the whole loop. So it was just left with three of us Iowans, Marty, and one 4x4.
No
And
way.
yeah, yeah. So Marty, and this was like the night we got out there. And so Marty's like, well, we got all sorts of options. So we pulled a big ass big whiteboard into his living room, and we started planning out. It's like, okay, if we go, what if we do 2 days of Canyonlands and we come back out? What happens if we just don't do Canyonlands at all? We just go to Moab, Fruita. There's other, some other mountain biking. What happens if you go kayaking for a day or you're rafting? And so we spent probably 3 hours just kind of like, what is our options now
Right.
that we know we can't get all the way across? So we just decided to do as much of the Canyonlands as we could, just because it's such a magical place. You had to get the permits for it. Not everybody gets to camp out there. So they wanted me and Wes to experience camping in the Canyonlands,
Yeah.
like the night stars and everything, which was super cool. So we just decided we went out to our camping spot the first night, and we camped there just like normal. And then the second day we got up and we went pretty much to our second spot for campsite, but we knew we were going to come back out that day. So we beat feet back to the beginning on the last of that second day.
And then
But
camped at the spot one again.
yes,
Ah,
yep,
okay, okay.
yeah, we made our way back up Schaefer Trail. But the camping, so we had it was Marty's. It was an old H3 Hummer that had a roof rack on it. So in there he had he had two big coolers, so we were able to put all our food in there. We had a spot for some beer. But a table, a tent, some chairs, so you could get, set up a little tent and be out of the shade. He had it set up really well. I mean, fill up with water. So when we're on bikes, we didn't have to carry a whole lot.
Nice.
I carried my water tools, but bikes were way faster than the four-wheel drive, just because of the motion of the four-wheel drive and the tires. But
Mm-hmm.
so it was nice having that four-wheel support. We were supposed to take turns driving. Like one day I'd drive, one day Marty would drive, just so we'd all get a chance to ride. But Marty had a bad back. He wasn't feeling well, so he offered to drive the whole time,
Oh,
which was kind of cool.
yeah.
Bad for Marty, but yeah, he enjoyed watching us and helping us. And yeah, so yeah, with that, we decided to get at least as much of the Canyonlands as we could. and then you asked me, temps and terrain and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
still about 80s at night. The ground gets so hot from the 100-degree temps. So one of the things in my camp gear, they said bring a bigger sleeping pad because there's so much heat that is coming out of the ground at night.
Mm.
So my normal bike packing pad only goes down to my knees, so it's a little short one. It's pretty lightweight, pretty thin. So I brought a little thicker one. And I'm glad I did because otherwise my legs would have been cooking, off of the rocks where you're trying to sleep at.
And it's a whole different dynamic for you to have a support vehicle because you probably had to think differently because normally you're trying to get everything as light and as small as possible and shoved in somewhere on your bike. And now you have like luxury, like you could have a bigger camp pad and maybe like a sleeping bag instead of just a sheet or whatever.
It was so it's kind of funny because when I brought all my stuff, it's like, all right, this is they're like, oh, where's your tent? Where's everything else? I was like, oh, it's all in that bag right there, all my everything I have. And so little did I know. So I bought my one-man bike packing tent, my normal little bike packing quilt, my bike packing pillow. And little did I know, it's like Marty's got a 6-man gazelle tent that sets up in, less than 5 minutes. One of the big hinged ones where it just kind of pops up into place. And then he's got a cot in there and like a home type air mattress and a pump, and here I am in my little one-man tent just sitting there watching these other 3. They all had big ass tents, and it was kind of funny, once we had it all set up. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah. Well, and it was probably a luxury to be able to eat like real food. I mean, if you had a cooler, I'm assuming somebody probably had a little camp grill, so you were not eating like nutrition bars and beef jerky.
Yeah, I mean, somewhat. Like in the mornings, I brought fig Newtons and a banana. That kind of took off with that. But like lunches, we took deli meat, chips, like some potato salad, and we had all that in a cooler. So yeah, it was nice. Just make your own sandwich. And Ray makes this thing called, I believe he called it hobo caviar, which is like a mix, I think salsa, like black beans, like Mexicorn, and some spices, but it was just something you could put on your sandwich, dip with chips, eat by itself, but I just got a kick out of the name, the hobo caviar.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what he did. And like a supper time, we made some pulled pork the night before in a crock pot, and then we just rewarmed that with the camp stove. And I had pulled pork sandwiches.
Nice.
It was the supper times, yeah. So it was nice having that kind of support.
Yeah.
For the 4 of us, and then we still had places for beer and a little bit of whiskey.
Well, that's a given. I'm assuming that's.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that would have not made. You would not have cut that out.
Right. So, I could have just lived on hobo caviar and chili. Hobo caviar and beers. Yeah,
definitely. Okay, so try and give the listeners a little taste of what it looked like out there, because I know the terrain changes dramatically throughout the Canyonlands. So I all I can think of is that it's beautiful, but give us some specifics.
Yeah, so the start of it is Schaefer Hill. And Schaefer Hill is one of the most iconic photos of Canyonlands. It's like when you're looking down and you can see all the switchbacks going clear down to the canyon. I mean, it's just the switchbacks get so small once you're looking, it's so far up. But it's about a 5-mile descent into here. It's right near the rocks, but it's not like oh shit, I'm going to get killed off this ledge kind of stuff. But I mean, and there's vehicles on it. It's a big road, but it was they had some rain there too earlier in the week, so it was ruddy. Some bigger rocks out there, a lot of sand in the switchback, so it was even hard to ride your bike through and keep up just because it was so sandy trying to take the curve. But you're trying to look at the scenery for one, and then trying to ride and kind of seeing where your tire is going to go. But that was the most gnarliest section going downhill into that, because you wanted to build up so much speed, but it was so kind of rocky and sandy you didn't want to go too fast. And then we also stopped along the way because every switchback just gave a different view, and it made for some awesome photos. And sometimes we walked out on the rocks, which is kind of on the edge, and took pictures there, and you could look pretty much look straight down. And So that first 5 miles, you're just in awe. And after that, you kind of get down in the canyons, fairly flat down there, but still pretty sandy roads. There's like some shelf drop offs, like maybe a foot is about the max, either down or up, kind of depend. A lot of slick rock, so you like
Oh, okay.
just driving or riding on slick rock. It's not even the dirt at that point. But very little vegetation, a few cactuses, some shrubs. Never saw a spider, anything like that. Yeah, nothing.
Oh, all right.
I think we saw maybe one squinty, that kind of, and otherwise, I mean, it was. There's one day it was 104 degrees. The second day was 112.
Oh, well, that's
And
why you're not seeing
and
any.
so it gets yeah, and it was different. I mean, you're sweating, but you're not sweating like the humidity of Iowa, for
Yeah.
sure. You take your helmet off, and I put on my big brim hat, and the little breeze kind of took it off. So if you could set, on the shade side of the vehicle, or I mean, I had a frame bag in my bike, and sometimes I'd just stand on the side where the shade was coming through and just get the heat off my legs, just if we were
Oh,
stopping.
yeah.
But it was just gorgeous like that. The riding, I mean, once you're on the bottom, I mean, the technicality. I'd say if you'd mountain biked before, I mean, it definitely was not like single track or on the ledge, but you had to definitely keep your balance.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're doing that in a whole day, like Reese did, the 100 and some miles, yeah, you're going to get some climbs on the descents in the beginning, and then you got Hogback, and then there's another road, another long climb. So yes, it would have been a hard ride to go one day. And that I'm kind of intrigued by doing it in one day, kind of, but I think it can be done.
Yeah.
But it was certainly cool, thinking we're going to spend 4 days doing the whole loop. And
Oh, yeah.
it was more of a, friend gathering, the camaraderie, the sightseeing.
Yeah. And tell us about your bike setup.
Yeah, so I before my Tahoe trip in June, I bought a Specialized Epic Evo. I got that from Bike Tech in Cedar Falls.
Oh, yeah.
And they had ordered this for a customer, and it was like pandemic time, and it didn't, the bike didn't come. So the customer ordered something else, and they just posted this one day as, hey, we got this unicorn bike that we ordered during the pandemic, and now we just have it on our floor. And like 3 minutes after they posted that, I'm like, yeah, that's the bike I'm going to buy, because I was looking for like a full suspension.
Yeah.
So I called Brent up there and bought it over the phone, and drove up there the next week and grabbed it. But it's a full suspension, but it's like a cross country suspension. So it's not like a full downhill bike, but it's definitely has front and rear. And it worked out good. I went with 2 feed bags up front. One feed bag had snacks in it. The other one had my camera and like an action cam. And then I just used with the shock and the full suspension, you can only put like a small frame bag, but I put a frame bag on there, and then I had my tools in the bottom. I was running tubeless tires, but I still bring a tube. And then I just had a Camelback hydration, just so I didn't have to have anything on my back, and worked out well.
And I guess, because I was thinking, oh my gosh, you don't have enough places for water and food, but I forgot that you are supported. So
Yeah.
as long as you can get, probably 10 miles, through all that heat and desert, you are set, because you'll have somebody waiting for you. That's awesome.
Yep. Max 10, 15 miles before we saw the vehicle. Yeah.
Okay, so would you go back to White Rim Trail? I know you kind of jokingly said, I kind of want to do it in one day, but would you go back?
I definitely would. Definitely would go back. It's from the sights and seeing, I would like to get all the way around it, just to say I went all the way around it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's even more scenery that we did not see. I know Marty didn't feel comfortable with just one 4x4 on these rock slides. He's like, if we had 2, it'd be nice to get pulled out, but it's like $1,000 to have somebody come and tow you out.
Geez.
You have to have a tow truck or somebody specialized come out. So we're all like, we can come back.
Yeah.
Try it. So definitely would go back, but just kind of knowing now what other kind of options there are out there. I mean, I'm a kind of guy that likes to do something once and then move on to the next thing, but I would probably definitely go back here.
Yeah. Well, but and one nice thing is, because of the rock slides and the weather issues, you were able to turn that trip that should have been just the White Rim Trail into multiple destinations, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, definitely. Yep. So we were able to hit hit Moab and Fruita and Arches Park, and I can talk about that in a second. I was going to mention when we were coming back up, Schaefer is kind of a funny thing to me anyway. Um, I was the one who climbed up Schaefer Hill back up, so I climbed all the switchbacks up because I was ahead of the 4x, and it's like, I'll just climb.
Yeah.
If they catch me, I'll get in because we were kind of it was kind of getting late in the day, and they said, hey, if you can keep ahead of us, you can keep riding. So I just kind of kept ahead, and every few switchbacks I would stop if I found a little bit of shade. And I was sitting on a rock, just kind of looking at the scenery. And here comes this razor coming up with a couple, a guy and a gal. And they're like, hey, you okay? And I was like, yeah. And they go, you need any water? And I was like, I would fill my water bottle. And
Yeah.
so they filled the water bottles, nice cold water because mine was warm. And then he goes, you need a soda? I'm like, yeah, I'll take a soda if you're offering. And then so he handed me this pina colada flavored Fanta.
Ooh.
And in my mind, I'm like, am I getting iced here? Am I getting, they gonna start laughing when they they got rid of this Fanta. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll take it. It was cold. And then I kind of watched their eyes if they were kind of looking at each other going,
Yeah.
we're icing him. And then they just like, hey, here you go. Good luck. And they took off. And I was like, what the hell? I'll try it. And it was kind of a weird taste. But I can't think of the last time I had a Fanta,
Well, and pina colada flavored. That is.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So I sat there and drank my Fanta and overlooked the canyons. It was just kind of fun. But it was ice cold. It was 240 calories in it. And I swear it gave me a boost.
I was going to say
boost
it. Exactly.
Up.
Yeah, exactly what you needed.
But no, that was great. So once we got up out of Schaefer Hill, so we went back to Moab. We found a hotel there, like an older hotel, but nice hotel.
Mm.
We went out to Moab Brewery, had dinner there, had a few beers, and then came back and we took a few more beers out to the poolside. 4 people from Germany came out, and they kind of sat in the pool for a while. 2 daughters, a husband and wife, and we chatted. They were just on holiday there. It was over our Labor Day, but they were on a extended like month plus holiday from Germany, and just kind of talked about the area. It was just cool, just cool that they were there. And then about the time they got out of the pool, this guy hopped in. He was from New Zealand, and we started chatting with him. And he works for Philips, like the lighting company, Philips. And he works with the stadiums that put lighting up into like cricket stadiums and soccer stadiums, all over the world. And it was cool. And he was on holiday with his wife, and they had rented a BMW SUV and they were driving across country. And they had started in LA and then they were in Moab for a couple of days.
Wow.
But what I thought was the coolest thing was when Ray said, hey, do you know about Musco Lighting in Iowa? And he's like, yeah, they're one of our biggest competitors worldwide. Worldwide. So then we got to find out that Musco went international a few years ago. So every time this Philips bids out like a soccer stadium in like India, Musco pretty much outbids them.
Wow.
And is getting those kind of businesses. So we had a long discussion about Musco and the lighting and it's Iowa based. And
yeah, when I think of Musco, I think of Jingle Cross right away because they dominate that. So wow, good job, Musco.
Portable lighting, but yeah, it was a good discussion. And then he started. He felt comfortable enough with us. I mean, we're 4 guys, beards, sitting there, and he's just one guy in there. He started asking us about politics, and we got into like a gun conversation of our thoughts on that because I guess New Zealand had a mass killing few years ago and they totally changed the laws where you cannot have like a farmer can have like a rifle, but like handguns and all that are all banned.
Oh wow!
In New Zealand, so it was just an interesting, intriguing conversation. That, never would have thought of it. A pool having beers in Moab.
Right. That's the beauty of like being on an adventure because, you don't really have any expectations and you're just, sitting there having a beer and then all of a sudden you've met some great people.
Oh. Super fun. So the next day we got up and we decided there's plenty of trails in Moab. None of us have ever rode the Moab trails. We finally decided on Navajo Rocks Trail.
Okay.
The most popular one is like a slick rock trail, and we just figured over the weekend it'd just be too busy. And the Navajo Rocks is a little bit further out, 18-mile loop. And it was designated like intermediate to advanced. So we're like, okay, if we need to slow down, we'll slow down. If we need to hike a bike, whatever, we'll just do it. And it ended up being a great trail that included everything. I mean, slick rock, like rock shelves, like up and down, sand. I mean, you know, just riding in the red dirt is something cool.
Oh,
A
yeah.
lot of punchy climbs, some pretty sweet flowy descents. But it was I'm going to say on the higher end of the intermediate scale. It really wasn't like, hey, I'm going to fall off this ledge stuff, but it was like, all right, you get going too fast, you know, you can hurt yourself here.
Right, right,
But it was some good, definitely good. Definitely glad I had my full suspension on there though.
right.
Let's
Yeah.
and we decided that was the only one we were going to do. We thought, all right, what's next? You know, but it was getting later in the day, and we were all hungry, and I think we went to a Mexican restaurant back in Moab, and just kind of chilled for the rest of the night.
It's funny
And
how, you and I both live in Iowa, and there's plenty of mountain biking around here, but it's, typically, at least where I live, it's mostly man made, on the side of a hill or those sorts of things. And I think I'm a little bit spoiled with the difficulty level. So, like, oh, green trail, yay, this is awesome. And it's just like a nice flowy. And then you're like, intermediate? Yeah, no problem. And it's still not like there's not a lot of danger or cliffs or jumps and stuff like that. But then, like you mentioned, when I was out in Moab, I'm all like, what? This is not intermediate. Like, who put that sign on this trail?
yeah, should be Black Double Diamond if it was in
Yes,
Iowa. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah. It's the designation across the states is pretty crazy. I don't think we'd have any Black Diamonds in Iowa if it was a national type
Right,
designation. But
right,
yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, when you're hopping up rocks, I mean, they didn't put those rocks there. That's
right,
just the way it was. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. It was cool. So the next day, we decided we weren't going to go to Arches National Park just because we figured we'd be in the car too much. But Wes had never saw Arches, and I had never hiked out to the Arches. I've driven through that park before, but never did any hikes.
Mm.
So we took off, and the first thing the lady asked was at the counter is like, "Hey, is anybody a veteran?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm a veteran." She goes, "You got your card with you?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so I handed that, and she hands me a free pass for a year,
What?
military pass to any national park,
Oh my gosh,
for
that's
a year.
awesome.
So I thought I had no idea they did that. But
Huh.
so yeah, I just happened to have an old ID with me, and so yeah, now I'm thinking, all right, where can I go? You know, it was like $30 to get in too
Wow.
for the
So
car.
this is now
Oh,
setting the tone for your trips in the future because you've got a
right,
year to
right,
take
right.
advantage of this great offer.
And then I said, what do I do after the year? And she goes, just come in again, and it's not even reapply. Just bring your ID in, and we'll give you another one.
Oh,
So I got for life. I have free entry in national parks.
holy moly, that's awesome.
So we did get out a lot. I'd say at least 8 times we got out and hiked to the different types of arches. I mean, the biggest one is the Delicate Arch.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most widely known. That was the most populated too. The rest of them were pretty decent, even over Labor Day. It was um, you would look ahead and look back and probably not see 2 or 3 people kind of deal in these hikes, which was kind of made you feel like you're out there all by yourself, and better pictures without people in them.
Right, right.
Yeah. So I spent, I don't know, 4+ hours going through the park and doing some hiking and everything like that. And then we decided we were going to go to Fruta. We've all been through Fruta. I've had dinner, went to the bike shops in Fruta, but I've never biked there. So we just decided, all right, let's check off Fruta. So we went to a small, I can't even think of it was like a 4-mile loop. Kind of blew me away. It was like a high desert trail. Fast, flowy. There were some rocky sections, but rode kind of along a ledge by the Colorado River. Was probably, I don't know, 10 stories down, kind of. So
Oh,
you're on like this
beautiful.
big, yeah. It was unexpected because I thought we were just going to get this little like ho hum trail, but I could have spent the whole day on that 4-mile loop just going around. I actually did it twice just because it was so much fun on the first lap. And then so the second lap you kind of knew, hey, I got to jump up here. I got to, go off to the left. So you could actually, I think I did it like 15 minutes faster on the second lap, just kind of knowing.
I can picture you doing that too. Like, oh, well, I got to do a third lap and see if I can get
Yeah,
faster.
just see. Yeah. I don't know how that happens, but it happens. A little competitiveness with yourself.
Yeah.
So then we're,
I was just going to say, I don't know if you ate in Fruta, but there's a place when we were there, I think it's called like Hot Tomato Pizza.
yes.
Oh my gosh. It was 5 stars for sure.
So this was a Sunday, and I have eaten there. I've actually worked there. The
What?
last time I was through, when I went to Tahoe, I stopped there and worked. On a Sundays, they're not open, and so we were all looking forward to that pizza by the slice, just crazy. Yeah, it's great pizza, but nope, they were closed. So
Ah.
I think we, I think we went to another Mexican restaurant
Oh.
in Florida. Mexican's kind of the go-to, food.
I would, yeah, I would choose Mexican food for every meal if I had the opportunity and could stomach the calories.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You got to be riding for sure.
Wow. So, okay. So I do have to add White Rim Trail to my list. I've done Moab. I've been to Arches National Park. Beautiful. I've been to Fruta. All of it's awesome. But you also
Yeah.
like briefly mentioned that you bike packed in Lake Tahoe.
Yeah, so this has been a good year for getting out and about. It's just kind of a yeah. I so in June, late June, there's five of us. So we spent 6 days bike packing around Lake Tahoe. There's a race called Bones to Blue, and it's similar to like the Tour Divide route. You just kind of take off your bike packing.
Hmm.
Tour Divide is a point to point from Banff, Canada, down to Antelope Wells, New Mexico. But
Yep.
the Bones to Blue loop, this guy put on. I think it might have been the second year for it, but it's a big loop around Tahoe, 230 plus miles, and it was like 30 some thousand feet of climb.
Oh God. And is it
So
like single track or like
a little bit of everything. A lot of it is single track. A lot of it is like rock garden type stuff. Lots of hike a bike up, lots of hike a bike down. I
mm,
mean, unless I mean, I would put some of this as like double black diamond stuff,
mm.
and we were unable to ride those pieces. Just couldn't, it was pretty epic. But we got in 230 miles, and our climb was 25,000 feet, and we skipped a few of like the really gnarly stuff, and we could actually do a little shortcut. But we decided not to do the race. That's what we intended to do, but we started a day later and just decided to do it on our own.
Oh yeah.
And then we had a little bit, we could stop a little bit longer and that kind of stuff, and not be in race mode.
Sure. When
But
you're bike packing in that sort of atmosphere, are you like stealth camping or were there actual campgrounds?
we had a campground one day. We slept on BLM land, like 3 days.
Oh, okay.
And we actually came down. I'm trying to South Lake Tahoe is a town, and we actually got a hotel one night
Oh, okay.
because we wanted. They had like it was called Base Camp was the hotel, and they had like a jam band there that night, and it was just we just like, hey, what the heck, let's just get we haven't had showers in 3 days, let's
Yeah.
just get a hotel and just have a good. They had a brewery attached to it, it's food, and so
And
yeah, it was
did they serve Mexican?
across the street.
That's awesome.
I'm trying to think. I might actually got like a burrito at that place
That's awesome.
as we're talking. So,
Well, I
but
think. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, but that was the hardest mountain biking I've ever done, was that around that Tahoe. And if you've never seen the color of Tahoe from up afar, it is like the beaches of Thailand. I mean, it is
Oh,
just
wow.
that blue it's gorgeous.
Wow.
Definitely would go back. But when I got to Tahoe, it was, you're driving through the desert for like 3 days, because I went off the beaten path and took, I don't know, they call it the nation's loneliest road or something like that. So I was like 2 days on this road where there's like nobody. You see in the movies, the picture of this long, desolate road. And I was like, I'm going to do that. And so I took that. And then you get into Tahoe, and it's completely overload with people and cars. And you're like, you're just like, I got to stop and breathe for a little bit. This is like too much.
Like, what a difference. Wow. Well, and that
Too-
brings me to the next question, or comment maybe. But people who know you, who know Scott Sumpter, know that you are like really good at doing grueling long distance rides and races. And like what you just described with Lake Tahoe is a perfect example. And we'll have to tell the listeners like what your Instagram account or Facebook so they can see some of the photos. But like,
Yeah.
there are so many times where I'm cheering you on from my couch. Like, all right, okay, Scott, he's been biking for 22 hours straight, and it's mud and raining, and he's going to make it. I know he's going to make it. But like, what is it about long distance?
Good
Like,
question, man. I need a good therapist, I guess. You know?
well, maybe that is your therapy.
Right. And I think yeah, it's like, it is. I appreciate the mental prep on, like 100-mile ride. I think most people can, kind of get that underneath their mindset. All right, I can plan for a 100-mile ride. I get to stop like 4 times. You can get a hold of that, but you're like, hey, you're gonna go bike, 340 miles or something
Yeah.
like that. Then you're like, ooh, I gotta, that brings in a whole nother element of sleep deprivation and packing and
Yeah.
tools and what are you going to need. And for some reason, I just geek out on that. It's just trying to plan, trying to like, ooh, do I need this or that? Just for the weight, not even like I'm not a weight weaning or anything, but it's like I've had enough stuff break out there and I hate to go out on a mechanical. So I will
Oh, yeah.
like over carry tools. And it's just because, hey, my chains broke out there in the middle of a fat bike race in 10-degree weather. And it's like, you got to fix that. So I just don't like the DNF.
Right.
And, I have over the course of time, but, yeah, you yeah, once you get 100-mile ride, and then you're like, all right, I'm gonna go 150. Then, hi, I'm gonna try this 200. And then,
Yeah.
I think the longest one was like 382 miles, and that was
Wow.
the one of the old Trans Iowa routes, like the 10th anniversary of Trans Iowa,
Oh.
and that's in April. So you know what April's like in Iowa. It's the gravel roads are like still thawing and the
Yeah.
muddy level B's.
Yeah.
So it's never an easy ride in April. It's way easier like now because you've been riding the whole season kind of
Mm-hmm.
outside and you're in
Mm-hmm.
better shape. But in April is just tough. But yeah, it's just that mental fortitude and just how to pack and what bike to take. And it's just, I like thinking through that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. I mean, I don't do the grueling long distance like that. Most of my long distance rides are on pavement, and a little bit more cushy, but it's still the same concept of, spending almost as much time getting ready and pre-packing and then repacking and then taking everything out and doing it again and like all of that kind of stuff. Sometimes is longer than the actual event.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah, you'll pack, repack, and then you're like, God, did I put, as you get older, I forget stuff. So it's like, did I put that in there? Did I?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, quit worrying. So yeah, 15 sticky notes on everything going, remember this, take that, do
Yeah.
this. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I am the exact same way. And I'm getting ready to do the entire Katy Trail, it'll end up being about 350 miles when we, take in getting to the trail and then getting off the trail, and self supported. But, it's not like we're super remote. I mean, there's going to be a town about every 10, 12 miles, but it's still,
Yeah.
you got to think it through. Like, do
Well,
I need my set of Uno cards just in case?
right, right.
Or can I put something more valuable in that place, like a granola bar or something? Anyway,
Yeah.
so that's
No.
that's my life right now.
Well, and you're kind of getting to the point where it's kind of off season ish at Katy Trail too, right? And a lot of the businesses still closed down there,
This is actually their
or is it?
most popular season because of
Oh,
the leaves changing.
oh, heck, perfect.
Yeah, so although
Nice.
the businesses a lot of them are closed on like Sundays and Mondays, so we kind of adjusted our route to start on Monday so that hopefully we will have businesses open. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. So I really don't have any big epic races coming up the rest of the year. It's cyclocross season that goes all the way through November. This weekend is and I'm not sure when this is going to air, but this weekend, the 24th, 25th, is our flagship event, Capital City Cross.
Oh,
And we're doing a big single speed race at the end. We're $1,000 payout to the winner. So it's like an
whoa.
elimination race. And if you got a geared bike, we'll zip tie your gears so you can't change gears. But we were able to, yeah, scrape up $1,000 cash for one winner on that race. So that'll be kind of fun.
And where's that located?
It's in Des Moines at Stone Park, and
Oh,
it's called
okay.
Capital City Cross. And then the next day on Sunday, we decided to go back to Mullets where the old nightcap cross was, and we're going to do Relay Cross, which is a team event of 4 people. We're giving all the proceeds to the Des Moines Bike Collective, and it's just a fun. People dress up in costumes, and there's some funky, weird barriers, and you almost got a whiskey shortcut. And I think we've had to do powdered donuts and hard-boiled eggs and stuff. If you want to skip the hard part, like all the barriers, you can take a shortcut and do a crazy thing you got to eat or drink as
That's
part of it.
awesome.
So it makes for some good photos and some, crazy faces as you're trying to down a warm Dr. Pepper in 100-degree weather or something. Yeah, it's fun.
So,
And
okay,
that,
so not only is Bike Iowa a great resource for events and all the portals that you have, you also are part of some pretty amazing events.
yeah, we host, yeah, like I say, this is our cyclocross. We host like some spring classic gravel races in the spring. We took over the IMBCS mountain bike series, which is a it's a series that houses all the Iowa mountain bike races, and we were able to get sponsors to give all the juniors and kids the race for free, and all the winners of 2022 will get free races in 2023
Oh,
versus kind of
cool.
the sponsors. So when we track all the series points, and we took over that series this year, and we put on the state mountain biking championship out at White Rock Conservancy by Coon Rapids, and we called that the Rock, which is our mountain bike race out there. And we'll put on some funky. I need to bring back like a cruiser ride. We ride 100 miles on cruisers just through the Des Moines trails, and it's kind of a fun day, and a good first century for folks who've never ridden a century. That's usually at the end of June. That'll be coming back next year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have my Fat Tire single speed ready for that event if it comes back.
we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. 107 miles of quote fun.
Well, I can tell you every experience I've had around you or biking with you has been more than fun. So I can only imagine anything you have set up in the future is going to be epic. And if you go back to the White Rim Trail, and are taking a group, at least put my name in the back of your head.
Okay, we will do. Yeah, I need to plan some more. I want to plan some stuff around like Iowa. There's so much more cool stuff that if you just plan out these itineraries, we've got plenty to offer if we just put her all together.
For sure, yeah. And go back to if people want to follow you, besides your website, which is bikeiowa.com, do you have other places that you post stuff?
Yeah, so probably going by the list of popularity, it's probably Facebook, which is Bike Iowa. Twitter is Bike Iowa. Instagram is Bike Iowa. YouTube is Bike Iowa Guy. Somebody already had Bike Iowa.
Oh, okay.
And those are the main spots. Like you can also friend me on Facebook, just under Scott Sumpter.
Cool.
Too, if, got a lot of mutual likes that way.
Yeah, and you have to check out his social media sites just to see all the photographs from his recent trips that we just talked about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Scott, for coming on the podcast and talking about your adventures. And it kind of, sparks some new bucket list items that I've added to my list. And as always, it's fun to talk to you.
Great talking to you. I'll be living vicariously through you on your Katy Trail trip, too.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun. All right. Thank you for the invite, and ride safe.
Sounds good. Well, that's it for this week. A few great deals to send your way. Use code MURFOLOGY at hammerhead.io to get a free heart rate monitor with your crew, too. And a shout out to Lily Trotter's compression socks. Use code MURFOLOGY to get 20% off your purchase of the best compression socks. Also use code PRIMALMURPH for 20% off your Primal Wear cycling gear at primalwear.com. Of course, email me at murphologypodcast@gmail.com if you have a topic or the name of a cyclist you find interesting. Support my podcast at patreon.com/murphology and visit my Facebook, Instagram, and website for daily entertainment. I have more great episodes in the pipeline, so I hope you continue to be a Murphology podcast listener.